Hello, welcome to the Talking Cheese, episode 2. Today is July 24th, 2026. It's been a while since I've done the last one. First one was just kind of like impromptu. This one's going to be kind of, a little bit, sort of. You can see from the title, I'm calling it Dexter review. It's more of just like a talk over. I don't want to get into too much personal stuff or anything, but basically was watching this show. I seen this show like years ago. I want to see the years real quick. So this is just a review of season 1 through 8. Nothing post the original series. Nothing. I forget the one after. I think is New Blood, and I forget what that little prequel season or series was. And then after that, they did Resurrection. This is none of that. This is just season 1 through 8, Dexter from 2006 to 2013, looks like. So that's what this is. When I do reviews, I really don't want to keep people like waiting. Some people, I don't know, they look at shit just for the score, and I'm probably gonna put the score in a thumbnail. Overall, I give this series a 7.5 out of 10. I was kind of torn between the 7 or the 8 because I really like and fuck with like the early seasons, and then obviously the common thing with the later seasons is that they're bad. And I will say the later seasons have things I am not crazy about, but overall I still enjoy them and I like them, even the last season. But I'll get into season 8 eventually. Right now I just kind of want to go through each season. And yeah, so like I said earlier, I had seen this, I think in high school, or sometimes maybe shortly after. High school might have been my senior year, but I just ran through it, and I liked it, and just kind of forgot about it, and never went back and rewatched it or whatever. I never really felt the need to. I think I did actually one time. This maybe be like 10 years ago now, or like somewhere between 5 and 10 years ago. Because, yeah, not 10, because I probably seen this in 2014, maybe. And yeah, I don't know when I tried. Maybe it was like around COVID, and then I just gave up. But I rewatched it, the whole series, because Toasty had never seen it before, and he wanted to watch something, and I was like, "Hey, you want to watch Dexter? You never seen it? You don't know anything about it?" And his answer was basically no. He'd known about some memes, and that was pretty much his knowledge of Dexter. So, with all that, I wanted to, like, kind of show him if he was interested, and just watch a couple episodes and see what he thought. And then, he got into it, and then I'm like, fuck it, I'm into it now. So we'll just go through it all. And we had to like keep going and watching, because if we stopped, we probably wouldn't have finished. Excuse me real quick. We probably wouldn't have finished because we have started a bunch of other things like animes and just other shit in the past, and we just do not finish shit sometimes. And so this one, I'm happy that we did finish and we kind of just stuck with it. But yeah, that's kind of why I'm doing this, kind of out of the blue. Dexter now started now 20 years ago. Jesus, 2026, gonna be 20 years from the season premiere of season 1 in October. And then yeah, but let's just start with season 1. Season 1, really quick. Obviously this is going to have like hella spoilers, so if you for some reason are watching this Dexter review without having seen the show, and a show that is this old, there's spoilers throughout this whole thing, so this is the warning. But yeah, before getting to season 1, I feel like each season has like the character, like the thing that the season is about. There's like some little subplots with the side characters or supporting cast. But overall with Dexter, he's the main. Yeah, in season 1, of course, I kind of want to go through it. In my eyes, season 1 is his brother, the ice truck killer, Brian Moser. Season 2, I kind of give it a little bit of a toss up. It's more, I feel like, some people could say Lundy, but I don't really think it's Lundy. I think arguably the biggest one is Dokes, because, Dokes is on him, and this is the season where Dokes dies. But I almost give it as like Lila, as kind of like the little, she comes in, I think, in the middle of the season, and then I don't know, she's just a bitch at the end, or like not a bitch, but she's psycho, and yeah. So I almost give this to like Dokes as the main and Lila a little bit of the side. I know Lundy's there, but Lundy, I feel like, doesn't have a season to be like his. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes sense. Season 3 obviously is Miguel. 4 is Trinity Killer. 5, I guess you argue the barrel people, right? But I give it to Lumen. I know she's not the bad person in that series, but I feel like it's all around Lumen, and like, the terrible things that happen to her and all this and that. And like, I kind of forget the bad guys, like who they are and their names, but I don't forget Lumen. And then season 6 is the Doomsday Killers. And 7 is kind of a weird one. I kind of give Deborah as like the main, you could say, the mafia dude, but he dies like halfway or close to the end of the season, but not quite at the end of the season. And I give it to Deborah as the main, and then 8 more with Vogel and I guess the brain surgeon, but I give it more to Vogel as the main. The brain surgeon, like, I'll get into it all later, but yeah. So in my eyes, each season has like the one main character besides Dexter that is with him, or like the antagonist, or like season 5 and 7 where I said Lumen and Deborah in my eyes become kind of like, almost like the lead of the show with Dexter in a sense, and then obviously the other seasons with the antagonist, they have to, have some camera time as well or whatever. But yeah. And season 1 being with Brian Moser, season 1 is very like, I don't want to say boring because I really like it, but it's very basic compared to the rest of the seasons later on. It's very much just kind of introducing Dexter and his situation with like the way he is, what happened to his mom, him finding out, like that his mom was killed in that crate with the chainsaw when he was little, finding out that he had a brother, that Harry lied to him, just going through like all of that, like it's setting up like everything else. It's very much like the foundation season. And I like that they have Brian, the ice truck killer, as kind of like, as like, no, there is something more than just the basic setup, and it is Brian and the way he's kind of maneuvering and kind of trying to play and poke at Dexter, and like getting him to remember, like the scene where Dexter goes into the hotel and there's just a bunch of blood everywhere. I loved all that. And I think rewatching the first season with Deborah, I kind of didn't expect, this is a first impression, so like we're talking like 10 plus years ago when I first saw the series or whatever. But when I first saw the show, I didn't think Deborah would have as much of an like impact in the series as I thought. And now rewatching it, I'm kind of like, I don't know how I didn't see it or assume she would be, her being his sister. I guess, I don't know if I just assumed she would die. I guess I kind of thought that he wouldn't be able to save her the very first time I watched season 1, when Brian, kidnaps Deborah and all that. But I know I'm kind of jumping everywhere, But I was gonna say, um, I'm, I'm gonna be jumping everywhere. But I was gonna say I liked Rita in this season. Um, I thought it was interesting, kind of rewatching, seeing how like tame she was, and I kind of think I thought the same thing about her as I did with Deborah, where I didn't think she was gonna have as much of an important role in his life, um, like Deborah did. I didn't expect her, to die when I first watched the series or season one, but I guess I had expected, them to break up, and that would be like kind of like the cutoff point. Um, but with all the characters, that aren't, I would say Dexter, and this season I will say Deborah too. That isn't Dexter, Deborah, and uh, I guess the Eye Struck Killer too. And then I was gonna say Harry, but Harry's weird, just because it's all flashbacks with him, and then he's in, you know, Dexter's mind. And actually, I don't remember if he sees Harry yet in this season. I don't know if that's like a season 2 thing, or if it's a later season, or if Harry is just there from the beginning. I kind of forget if he's there in season 1, but I want to say it is, because I swear when he finds out that and this could be season 2, I could be mixing it up. See, this is the bad thing about going through this whole series and doing this, is that I kind of forget all the shit that happened in season 1, the earlier seasons, and kind of mix them up. But when Dexter finds out that Harry killed himself because of him, I don't remember. I know Dexter talked to him, I think, about something like that, I think, but I can't remember who set him on that. I don't remember if it was Dokes or not, but I know there's the whole thing where I think Dexter talks to Harry when he finds out, that he had a brother, and Harry tells him like he was too far gone, kind of thing, or whatever. But yeah, apart from Dexter, Deborah, and I'm going to include Harry, and Brian, his brother, everyone else is there, but is not too crazy, like involved. I feel like in this season, like Angel is there, and then I actually forgot that about his wife, that he's divorcing in this season, and how little like she's kind of involved. And then that's just kind of like his thing. LaGuerta is just kind of like a bitch to Deborah and flirty with Dexter, and I feel like that is all she's kind of there for, and yeah. And then of course, like I said, Rita is there, but I feel like she's just kind of there as a setup to be his, very much still his cover, and doesn't view her as much more than that, I think, yet. And the kids, they're just kind of there. And then I forget if they introduce Rita's ex-husband in season 1, or if that's a season 2 thing. I forget. But they're just kind of there. Like, that's like the vibe. Like everyone else that isn't Dexter, Deborah, and the Ice Truck Killer, everyone else is just kind of there. And I remembered thinking, when they introduced Brian, I almost kind of didn't like the way they introduced the brother, because he is like the amputee doctor, but he is just kind of introduced in the middle of the season, or we're shown his face rather. And then the way they have him like give, he has lines and shit, he's not just an extra, so you kind of know he has to be more than like a supporting kind of cast kind of thing. And he just keeps being involved, and he gets involved with Deborah, so you kind of get the idea that he has to be a little bit more. But yeah, I've been talking for like, if my timer's right, it's around 15 minutes about season 1 now, and I don't want to spend too long about each season. So I'm gonna kind of run through this and kind of wrap it up. So season one being, about mainly the brother and Dexter finding out he has a brother, finding out about his mom, finding out I think his dad killed himself. I don't know if that was this season or not, and just introducing the would be more important characters for the following seasons, I would say is what season one is kind of like all about. And it makes sense because, when you do a show, you don't really know what you got. Like, if you're going to come back the next season, be able to make it, or future seasons. So I think it's a very good first season. It's smart in the way that, it doesn't try to get too crazy like the later seasons do, and keeps it kind of, I don't want to say basic, but like, it's nothing crazy. It doesn't feel like anything too unique versus like the most unique thing with Dexter, right? That separates it from these like other kind of crime drama series is that Dexter is a serial killer. Like that is like the thing. Dexter is a serial killer, and he's a serial killer who only goes for other serial killers, basically, and it is such a that's the spin, and I think it's a great setup, and I like season one quite a bit. And moving on to season two, where I don't remember exactly how it all starts out. I know at the end of season one to season two, Dokes is kind of suspicious of Dexter, and I think it's because him saving Deborah, and he suspected that he knew more than he let on, right? So he's kind of following him in the beginning of season two, and his suspicions just get higher. And then they find all the bodies in the ocean, those divers, and then it just kind of like Dexter couldn't catch a break with Dokes. Like he was just on his ass. Yeah. And the whole thing when Lundy comes in, I don't mind Lundy. I mean, I like him. I think what I don't like is the Deborah Lundy romance. Like, I think when I was younger, I didn't really care, or, whatever, younger woman, older man. And even now, she's an adult and I still don't care, but it's just still kind of like, I wouldn't believe for a second, like in real life, that a woman Deborah's age would go for such an older dude like Lundy. Like, I don't know. It's a little ridiculous to me. Like, I get it. It's just a show and, whatever. But I don't know. Certain things in this show, you got to suspend, your belief, or like, whatever you want to call it, reality, or, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, I don't know. It just seemed unrealistic to me. And in this season, so much shit happens in this series. I forget. Like this series, I think this is when Angel, gets with that cop, and I don't really know what happens with him. And the reason I bring up Angel is like one of my favorite characters, but I feel like I can't remember a bunch of shit that happens with these characters. Like I'm pretty sure Masuka does not have a lot going on with any of these seasons, really. He's just kind of there supporting, and I love Masuka, but he's funny. Like I think this season he has the thing where he writes the little, like, I was gonna say report, but I think it's an article, and like no one gives a fuck, and he gets upset and all this and that. But yeah, trying to think what else happens. I know, like I mean, I guess I'll just go into the Doke stuff, and the stuff with, I forget her, always forget her name, Lila. Dexter pretty much gets caught in a lie with Rita, tells her that he is a drug addict and all this and that, and goes to, I don't know if it's still an AA meeting or if AA is strictly alcohol. I don't know if they do drugs, but it's the similar kind of vibe. And then Dokes follows him there, and that's where he kind of falls off because he thinks, oh, he just has a drug problem. then he talks to Deborah and is like, yeah, your brother's drug problem or whatever. And she's like, what are you talking about? You know, and then he's all over him again. Um, I think the main thing I want to talk about is kind of like the ending of season 2, because it's my favorite part when Dokes gets Dexter at gunpoint and realizes that, you know, he's the Bay Harbor Butcher. And he and I agree with Dexter. I think Bay Harbor Butcher is a dumb name. I don't really like that one. But you know, Dexter captures Dokes, but he can't kill him because Dokes doesn't kill innocent people like that. So he just has him imprisoned, and I enjoyed their conversations quite a bit. And I enjoy their conversations so much that I wish that like Dexter would have turned himself into Dokes, and like, you know, Dokes would have been like understanding, not like of his killing, but like understanding of Dexter's past and why he is the way he is, to the point where like, you know, if he had captured Dexter and imprisoned him, and Dexter confessed, that he would visit him and like talk to him, see how he's doing. You know what I mean? Like he would help him out, or like, you know, not just like abandon him and this and that. Like, and I almost want like a what if kind of thing, if like Dexter, you know, spends his last day with his family, comes back, he frees Dokes, and Dokes brings him in, and Dexter confesses. Like, I almost want like to see like what happens in that instance. Like, you know, I don't know. I miss Dokes so much in the later seasons, and it's not that I don't like Quinn. I do like Quinn, but he takes a little bit to grow on me, I think. But God, if I could have Quinn and Dokes, like them two together in a room, I think would be a trip. But yeah, I'm very sad. Only 2 seasons of Dokes, but excuse me. But I'm happy we have what we have with him. He's one of my favorite characters. I mean, you know the memes with him. He's one of the best characters, and it's so sad that he dies so early, but I think it's kind of like almost like a sacrifice in a sense of like, yeah, it sucks, but you know, like it makes the show better, I guess, in a sense, and you hate Lila that much more when she finds the cabin and like, you know, turns on the gas and blows him up. Excuse me. But yeah, Lila, I'll go into her a little bit. I really like her in the beginning, and I really liked her again on the rewatch, and at first, and then I think the turning point for her literally is like when Deborah sees her with her tits out, and she's like, "Who the fuck are you?" You know, like, and then it's like, actually, I'm not into Lila anymore, and I kind of see what Deborah's talking about. But at first, I'm like, Deborah, you need to calm down, leave your brother alone, and let him do what he's gonna do. But then you kind of see like, oh shit, Lila is psycho. But I'm like, Deborah, you didn't know she was psycho. You just didn't like that, you know, he got with someone as quick as he did after Rita, basically, because I don't know. But yeah, Lila is just psycho, and you just hate everything she does after, you know, like leading on Angel. Maybe Angel's, you know, I take it back. I don't think Angel was into that woman. I think I said that earlier, but I think that might be season 3. I don't remember what happens this season with Angel. And see, that's like my problem. Not my problem, but I guess it is my problem. It's just I don't remember. Like season 8 is fresh in my mind, really. So these earlier seasons I kind of forget. And I didn't like touch with Rita at all. I don't think I mentioned her a little bit, but like I forget this is the season where I think her ex-husband dies because Dexter frames him, and she doesn't help him, she doesn't believe him, and you know, there's like a thing with the shoe, and I think that comes back in season 3. But yes, and And, the kids are just very much there. They're kind of funny. They're kids. And I think it's the best part of the kids is seeing Dexter interact with the kids and how much he kind of is awkward as much as they are, I feel like. And I think it works very well. I think Dexter is an underrated dad. I mean, yeah, he lies a lot and, has this whole serial killer thing on the side, but you can't argue that he doesn't try and he does not care. You know what I mean? He cares a lot. And I don't know if this was this season or if it was season 3, but that guy he kills when he's taking kind of, I don't think, I will say he's stalking, because they run into the creepy dude in the store and he's kind of like talking to Aster, and then I feel like he runs into them later and he's taking the pictures, or maybe no, he's taking pictures of someone else. Dexter followed him, I believe. But yeah, I think that was like such a kind of weird and random. I don't recall how it was done, like in the season or in the episode, but I just like remember it happening. And I don't know if that was season 2 or 3. I want to say it was probably season 3, because I feel like there was more room for it there in my head. Season 2, I'm thinking about season 2 feels like there's a lot of like claustrophobicness going on, if that makes sense. Like there's not a lot of time for shit to be happening, like with the investigation into the Bay Harbor butcher and all this and that. And they have that scene where they bring Dexter in with the slides, and he's just kind of like, oh shit, they got me. But then they think, oh no, it's Dokes, because he had these slides on him and he flew out of the country and all this and that. And it's just like, it feels like season 2 feels like a race almost. But yeah, it's season 2. I'm gonna stop talking about season 2 right here. Season 2, I enjoy it quite a bit. Big improvement, I think, on the first one. I won't say improvement, but it's better. And it, as the seasons go by, they should be getting better, and it was better in my eyes, and I enjoy it. I enjoy it quite a bit. One character I realize I haven't talked about is Matthews, and he's like the captain, and I think it shows how much I care or don't. The whole thing with Matthews and LaGuerta during this, where they're kind of at each other's throats, and it doesn't seem that important now, but it kind of plays a part later on when they work together, sort of. But Matthews, I think, demotes LaGuerta in this season. I don't remember if it was in season 2 or in 3. I want to say it was in 2, and then LaGuerta sleeps with their new lieutenant's husband or boyfriend, like, and just fucks with her, and she's like in the show for like a minute, it feels like, and like I literally forget all about that. But yeah, it's not that I don't like LaGuerta. Like I said, I like all these characters: Angel, Masuka, like LaGuerta. I like the little bit they even show of Dexter's mom. I like the little bit they show of, I don't know her name, but the lady in like the file room. Like, I like all these characters, but they give them very little in the beginning and still like very little later for some of them, to the point where it is very it's just forgetful. At least for me, like I said, because I just ran through the whole series and I don't remember everything that happened in season 1 and season 2. But I'm hitting the main points, and sadly a lot with what's involved with these other characters is not really the main point. Like even Deborah, I think the main thing I guess this season is Deborah and Lundy. And when the investigation into the Bay Harbor butcher is over and they think it's Dokes, he leaves and Deborah's like kind of heartbroken and all that. But yeah, that's essentially season 2. Season 3, all about Miguel, pretty much. And even this it's kind of a weird start to a season, and it's kind of funny, and I like it. Dexter breaks into, I think, the drug dealer's house to kill him. someone else is in there. He kills that guy. The drug dealer gets away. The dude he kills that wasn't supposed to be there ends up being like involved in like another high end kind of like, I don't know what Miguel even is. I don't know if he's like some sort of lawyer or some sort of prosecutor or some sort of, because I don't think he's like a police person or what. I know his other brother, the one that doesn't die, is like involved with like the sheriff's department, I think, something like that. But yeah, it's just such a funny way, I think, for the season to start. Um, and I like a lot. I love Miguel. I love Miguel's character, and I love Dexter's and his friendship, and how kind of getting him, Miguel getting Dexter comfortable to kind of be more open and this and that, and then basically, kind of realizing he's lying a little bit later on in some aspects or whatever. I think it's kind of funny. You don't expect him to go like psycho as much as he does with him. Like, I completely forgot that he killed that LaGuerta's friend, that defendant lady, completely forgot about that. And then, him burying her in the graveyard and all this and that. Like, I forgot about all of that. But I think he's a good antagonist this season. I love Dexter's interaction with him. I love Dexter's interaction with his brother, and how his brother just absolutely does not like Dexter at all. And then I don't remember how he ends up in jail. I think he points a gun at Dexter after Dexter kills Miguel, and he's like, he's suspecting him, and then Dexter visits him in prison. And it's just basically like that whole conversation with Dexter and Miguel's brother, I forget his name, like when he's like chained, it reminds me so much of like a Fallout check speech. Like, he's just getting him to believe everything he said basically, and talking about how like Miguel, is very manipulative, you know what I mean? And he is, and his brother knows, so he's just like, you know what, you're right. He was kind of going crazy at the end there, I guess, you know what I mean? But yeah, I kind of ran through that pretty quick. That's season 3, kind of like in a nutshell, skipping over a lot. A very big thing happens, Rita gets pregnant this season. Dexter's going to be a dad. He proposes to Rita. So kind of says no at first, doesn't really take it as serious, or I guess she doesn't think he's like committed. And I think that's where a lot more of his relationship with Miguel kind of grows, because Miguel kind of gives him tips here and there, like relationship wise. And Dexter is very like emotionally dead, obviously, and not sure how he should be. But he gets there, and it's touching, I think, when he does that little actual proposal where he's like, I want to marry you, and not just you, but like, with the kids, I want to be with the kids. I want to be there for them. I want to raise them with you. I want to be there for the baby. And yeah, I think it's such a nice scene. And I think it's a, nice, I don't know what the word would be. It's a very big, like, stepping stone in Dexter's character. I feel like this is no longer cover. This is family. You know what I mean? And I like it a bit. Something I did not mention at all in this season. This is the season where Quinn is introduced, and I don't remember what's involved with him this season. In season 3, I'll be honest with you. I know he has like the informants. There's probably a better name they were using. a different term in the show. I know, I forget what it was, but basically people that you know work for the police, that because they arrested him and they're like, hey, if you like give us info, your sentence is like nothing or a lot less, and you even pay you for like to be on our informant role or whatever. And it's when Deborah gets involved with the Anton dude, and I forgot about that. And this is also the killer with the skinning. I forgot about that. Yeah, because forget Anton gets locked up and not like imprisoned, but gets captured and imprisoned. And like the dude who's skinning people's like shed like underneath the highway or something, and Deborah frees him. They get together, and I liked Anton a bit. I didn't like how in season 4 when Lundy comes back, how Deborah kind of throws away Anton for Lundy again, because I said I didn't like I didn't like not Anton. I didn't like Lundy and Deborah as a couple, but yeah. For this season 2, I mean TOO, not season number 2, but season 3. I'm looking at the characters. I don't really remember what's happening with LaGuerta or Masuka this season, and I kind of don't remember what happens with Angel. I want to say this is the season where he is dating that woman who's like undercover in the prostitute ring kind of thing, and I feel like there isn't really much more going on with the characters. I'm sure I'm forgetting stuff, but and again, this is just me and what I remember. But season 3 is a pretty good season. I don't think I mentioned Dexter propose. I know I mentioned earlier Dexter proposed, but he gets married in the last episode. Other than that, I don't really remember too much else. I feel like that's pretty much the main. Oh, LaGuerta, I remembered the main thing was, LaGuerta's very good friends with Miguel. And that's kind of what it is, and she thinks he killed the woman, her friend, and that's pretty much I feel like her involvement with this season. But season 3, I like it. I think I like it about as much as 2. It's a little different. It's not as climactic as 2 with the whole, we lose Dokes. It's season 2. We lose Dokes, and it's, a sad thing. But yeah, that's pretty much season 3. And now with season 4, we get with the Trinity Killer, and I think it's funny how this season started with Dexter has a baby now. He's like losing sleep, and he goes into that trial, and he lets that one killer walk or whatever, and then like Quinn is like pissed at him, and like that is like the start of like Dexter's and Quinn's beef throughout, like not like the rest of the season, but kind of like up until later. But yeah, it's just so funny to me that it kind of starts here in season 3, and they were fine. I feel like I can't remember any interaction Dexter and Quinn had in season 3, but in season 4, that's kind of like now Quinn's suspicions of Dexter, and I'm happy that Quinn doesn't end up being another Dokes, because that I wonder if they were kind of going for that at first with him, but I'm so happy they didn't, because that shit would have kind of been stupid. Well, I won't say stupid. I guess it could be done well, but in my eyes, I thought it would be kind of. I think the idea sounds shitty. I'll put it that way. I think it sounds shitty. I think you can execute it well, but I don't think they would have. And I don't think they even did, because it kind of comes back again with LaGuerta. But yeah, and I didn't like that either. But that's season 7. But yeah, season 4, Dexter's a father and he's trying to learn. And with the Trinity Killer, he, finds him and he thinks he only kills in like threes. Turns out to be like fours, I think, because he can. It's I think it starts with the little boy that he kidnaps, and then he like buries the little boy alive in like cement, like in a bag. And then I think it starts. Then the second one is like the woman were in the bathtub. The third one, I want to say, is the woman that jumps from like a tall building. And I think the fourth is he bludgeons a male, older male. I think that's the pattern, but it's something like that. But they don't realize about the children until way later. But Dexter being Dexter, finding out who he is before everyone else, of course, and then going to Arthur Mitchell's church, finding out he has a family, and he's just like, fuck, he's kind of like just like me. How does he do it? How does he balance all this shit? So I think it's an interesting idea, trying to learn from someone he eventually is going to kill, and, basically paying the ultimate price for it, and that, the Trinity Killer kills Rita at the end of the season, and it's the big, like, gasp moment. And yeah, the first time I saw it, I couldn't believe it happened. The second time I watched it, I'm like, this timeline is kind of dumb, right? It doesn't really make sense. It kind of just jumps around. But I get that Dexter thought that, like, she was gone already and, like, safe with Harrison. But it is also kind of, like, weird to me. The, like, he kills the Trinity Killer. And I can't remember if it's like day or what, but then it, like, I want to say, it jumps to like night, and he goes into his house and he hears Harrison, or he tries to call Rita, and then he hears the phone. Then he hears Harrison crying, and he goes in and he just sees Rita in the tub, like it's full of her blood. But I'm just kind of like, what happened, and like when did it happen? And I don't know. I remember thinking it didn't. I didn't like I don't know. It's very much, her death is very much like a cliffhanger kind of moment, at the end of the season. And it's just kind of like, I think I don't know what you would call it, like the coherence, of the series of events that lead up to the moment kind of suffer for it on the second viewing, realizing like, when did he kill her? When did the Trinity Killer get to Rita or whatever? It didn't. I don't know. I feel like it didn't make sense to me. But maybe if I go and see it again. But I mean, I'm probably not gonna watch this show again for a very long time. But yeah, that was just one of my thoughts on the rewatch. But yeah, I don't know what happens with anyone else. I know Deborah, leaves Anton for Lundy, like I said, and Lundy ends up getting shot and dying, and Deborah gets shot and is okay. And yeah, it's a rough moment. I forgot about the Trinity Killer's oldest daughter getting with Quinn, and she's basically using him to like kind of get info for Trinity, and thinks she is doing him a favor by killing Lundy and shooting Deborah. But I think that's like the main Quinn thing. Masuka again is just kind of there to make you laugh. LaGuerta, I don't know what happens here. with her. I don't remember off top. Batista either. Oh, this might be where LaGuerta and Batista get together, and I think they get married at the end. I forgot that happens as well. Trying to think if I have like any other thoughts with this season. I liked I liked the Trinity Killer's family and Dexter's interaction with them. Kind of like sort of semi looking out for them and making sure they're all right, like toward the end. And I like the way he talks with Jonah. I thought Jonah was a good character, and I like when Dexter goes and sees him again. And I forget which season. It might have been season 6. I don't remember. But yeah, season 4. I don't know the common consensus of like, everyone's thoughts on this series, but I want to say like after season 4, people do not like the others as much after, or well, I guess they say this is where like it starts to dip down in quality, and I can kind of see it. But I think my biggest gripe with season 4 is Rita's death on the last episode and it ending, because from this point on it feels like each season has like the cliffhanger kind of finale that season 1, 2, and 3 did not have. Like 1, I don't remember how 1 ended, but I'm pretty sure it didn't have a finale, like a cliffhanger. Like I'm pretty sure it was just, he kills the ice truck killer, saves Deb. Season 2 is Dokes dying and him, getting away with, being the Bay Harbor butcher. Season 3, he kills Miguel, gets married, I think in the last episode is his thing. And this one is, Rita's death. I'm not saying it's bad, and I think it's a good cliffhanger if you're going to have one, but it's also, I think people liked it, that they're like, okay, well, now we got to do more, right? And I think that is like such an issue when something good happens. Like, you try to redo it. You try to copy it again. You try to do what you did great again, and what you do later isn't as great as the first time. You know what I mean? You try to have that same success, and that shit does just not work out. I don't think season 5 has a cliffhanger though, so I'll take that back. So maybe that's why they went back and did it. Maybe season 5 was received poorly. I don't really know at the time, and I still kind of don't know now. I will say I like season 5, and I like Lumen's character, but I do not like the actress who plays Lumen, and it's nothing against her, and I think I've seen her in like other like movies or maybe even a show. I can't say for sure, but I just did not like her as Lumen. But yeah, season 5 basically, picks up immediately after season 4. Dexter's holding Harrison and Rita's in the tub, and just blood everywhere, and the cops come. Well, I think he's in his lawn, actually. I forget. But, he has her blood all over him and the blood all over Harrison. And, homicide, his co-workers essentially all come because, it's their job and all this and that. And, it's just all about him maneuvering life after Rita and the responsibility he feels in like causing her death. And quite understandable too, because he really just had to kill Trinity, and none of this happens, and he's okay in the end, but doesn't, and Rita pays. I think I said pays. He paid the ultimate price. Rita pays the ultimate price, not Dexter. But with Lumen, he is trying to, I guess, in a way, make up for Rita's death in helping her get revenge against these. I think it's 5 dudes again. I feel like the antagonists are so. They take such a backseat to Lumen, and not that there's anything wrong with it, but I literally cannot remember any of their names. Jordan Chase, I pulled up the season 5 casting and I see the characters. Yeah, the whole thing with Jordan Chase and his friends, I mean, you're happy. They die or whatever, but I don't know. I don't know how this season could have been better, but it was okay, and I will say I liked it. I will say I enjoyed the season. I'm looking at the cast for this season. I forgot about Stan Liddy, and I'll talk about him real quick. So, Quinn basically has his issues with Dexter in season 4 that start, and Quinn is like the only one suspecting, Rita's didn't fit the MO of the Trinity killer, and is kind of suspecting Dexter, because they say, I don't remember what the quote was from the show, but 9 times out of 10, they say the husband did it, basically. And he, I think, drops the suspicion that it was Dexter, but starts suspecting, okay, why did Trinity go after Rita specifically? And when they get the drawing, and he tries to ask Jonah, Trinity Killer's son, if he recognizes Dexter, the picture, and he doesn't answer. But I think this is also where Quinn starts. Yes, this is where Quinn starts dating Deborah, because I remember a couple scenes where Stan, the Liddy dude, comes and knocks on Quinn's door, and Deborah's in there, and Liddy's he's kind of like a dumbass character, not dumbass, but he's like a dick character, and I really didn't like Liddy, and I didn't like the whole. Like I said, I was so scared of Quinn being Doak's part 2, and I didn't like how much time they devoted Quinn into looking into Dexter. You know what I mean? But I don't know. I guess it's not terrible, but I did think it was kind of crazy, Dexter, the way he kills Liddy in the van, and then Quinn's outside and gets the blood on his shoe, and then Dexter helps him out and clears his name. I think that happens at the end. But yeah, this season is okay. Trying to think if there's anything else I really like. This one, I think. You know what? Let me tell you my main issue with season 5. The very end, in the last episode of season 5, Dexter, basically Lumen gets kidnapped, and Jordan Chase takes Lumen to the abandoned kind of Friday the 13th-esque, woods, camp, whatever type of deal or whatever. And Dexter goes after him, and he finds out about it, where she's at, and he literally crashes his car at the camp. I think he's talking to Harry, as he's doing by this far in season 5. Harry is like a regular part. Again, I don't remember if Harry was part of season 1 where Dexter saw him and talked to him, but he's talking to Harry, and then all of a sudden he like crashes the car and he does like a flip, and then a Jordan Chase comes out and like, you know, basically Jordan Chase has Dexter like at gunpoint. He's like, come this way, yada yada yada. And you know, Jordan Chase fucks up. Dexter finds a way to free himself, and they get Jordan Chase on the table, and Lumen kills Jordan Chase. As they're cleaning up, Deborah follows up on a tip, and a witness saw Jordan Chase going somewhere, and he heard like banging in the trunk, and Jordan Chase takes off. So the witness points Deborah to like the direction of the camp, and she gets there, and she sees Dexter and Lumen, but she sees their like blurry like figures, you know, can't see their faces because they're behind the plastic wrap, and she has them at gunpoint, and she tells them to like, you know, get the fuck out, like you have 1 hour basically. And the only thing I can say is, how the fuck does Dexter get rid of his car in 1 hour? Like, they do not find his car there at all. And that, I think, is my biggest issue with season 5. Where, like I mentioned earlier, you gotta just kind of like, you don't have to, but like, come on, man. Like, where the fuck is his car? Like, really? And Dexter, I feel like, goes through, I don't know how many versions of his car, but man, he's been in a ton of accidents. His insurance has to be so high. Like, it is crazy. Like I don't know, but that was one of my issues with this season. And like I said, I liked Lumen as a character and an idea, but I guess I didn't like the execution. And I think that's where I think a lot of people say these later seasons are bad. And that's my thing, is that like, I don't think they're bad, but they're not as well executed as I think they could be. But I'm still like invested in the show at this point, in the characters, so you know, I keep going. But that's the first 5 seasons. I'm already like almost close to an hour into this. I'm gonna take a break, and I'm gonna come back and resume, and I'm gonna finish up with season 6, 7, and 8. But I'll be back. But you know, you'll hear me. It's gonna be like instant for you, so. Alright, I'm going to try not to go on for another hour. But season 6, because, you know, it doesn't start off right after a cliffhanger. I kind of forget how it begins. So, obviously, season 6 is the start with the Doomsday Killer. He is kind of like Dexter in a way, you know. Like I said, spoilers. He sees a professor he killed who's not really there, who he thinks is in charge, basically, of him, and he couldn't handle the fact that he killed them. Basically, I guess, is my understanding of what happens later. And I kind of forgot. I didn't kind of forget. I did forget that he wasn't really real and was in his head the whole time. But it happened, my realization, I remembered when there's a part where he's doing something and the professor dude is not helping him at all. And I'm just like, dude, you could do like a little bit of something. And I don't remember what it is, but I'm like, oh, he is really not there. And I completely forgot about that. And then, you know, Dexter finds him later in the little ice box thing, whatever, underneath the church. But yeah, I know this season they introduced Angel's sister, I believe, right? Jamie, as the babysitter for Harrison. And I forgot, in season 5, he gets a nanny and some Irish older woman who I didn't really care for or whatever. But I like Jamie, and she pretty much becomes kind of like, I won't say a main, but very supporting uh, character, supporting cast character. The reason why Dexter can do what he does, and not get in trouble, basically, because you know she has a babysitter looking out for his kid. But yeah, the season is very much the religious season, and I think it's kind of funny that when it's over, like the religion stuff kind of stops, like the stuff with God and all that, and whether how much he kind of wants to raise Harrison, you know, in that aspect. And Harrison, I think, goes into like that preschool, the Catholic. I don't know if it's a Catholic one or if it's like a Christian like school or what. But like, I don't think they mentioned him going there like after this season. But I think it's just kind of funny. You have Most Def, who I think currently now goes by, and I'm probably gonna mispronounce this, but please forgive me. I think his changed his name to Yasin Bey. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it. It's like YasIin, and I think Bey is Bey, but I could be wrong in the pronunciation. I liked his character. I'm gonna call him Most Def, not out of disrespect, but I just don't want to have to be thinking that hard to change up his name right now. But I'm sorry if that offends anyone. But Most Def's character I like a lot, and I liked his friendship, a lot more than I liked Dexter's friendship with Miguel. And I wish Most Def had a bigger role, but I think for what his character, what the character's purpose is, I think, it's Most Def does phenomenal, but the character does what it needs to do, and I'm sure they never had like in the back of their mind that like, oh, Most Def is going to be a main character. I'm sure his character was planned to be killed from the get-go, but God, I wanted him. It could have been an interesting kind of spiritual kind of leader for Dexter, in a sense, to like make sense out of like the nothing, not necessarily like Dexter becomes like a Christian or anything like that, because I don't think Dexter ever truly believes in any of that, but I think it gets Dexter thinking in a sense of like right and wrong, and kind of helping him to see that there can be forgiveness, the way Most Def forgives the person who shoots him, but then Dexter, I completely understand why Dexter kills Most Def's shooter. The kid's like, I'm gonna get away with it, he's dead, all this and that, like, no one's gonna believe you, it's my word against yours or whatever. And then Dexter just losing it and killing him. Like, I love all of that. I love the episode where he goes to Nebraska and deals with Jonah after he thinks Jonah killed his sister and mom, but turns out that Jonah's sister killed herself, and Jonah was in a rage and ended up killing the mom. And God, he just does not have a happy ending, and it's so sad for Jonah. And I like to believe, this is the last we see of Jonah. I like to believe that he's better off, as time goes on, and he's in a better place. But yeah, it's really rough with him, man. Um, and honestly, that is like my favorite part of this season. And the Doomsday Killer, I don't really care about too much. Like, I think his kills are cool and like the setup is neat, but like, I do not like. Again, I guess I don't know how to word it. I guess it's just again the execution with him. Um, the CGI is so bad. Like the first kill with the snakes coming out of the stomach. Um, I liked the Saw kind of setup trap kill later with the angel thing. I thought that was neat. Um, I gotta say, one of the worst things I ever seen in my life is that painting of Dexter's face on the I think it's the Lake of Fire painting or whatever. But God, that was really bad. Not bad, but that's just one of the ugliest pictures in my mind. Dexter's face on that like demon head, or I mean on the demon body. Sorry, with like the horns and ugh, yeah. I'm not trying to be all negative, but yeah. I'm trying to think what happens this season with the other characters. It's pretty much the gist of it, honestly, with Dexter. Um, I don't remember if Deborah is with anyone on the season or if her and Quinn are still working it out. Um, I think. Um, there's a part where I think Quinn and Deborah, I don't know if they are still dating in the season. No, I think they broke up. See, I don't remember if in season 5 if they get together or if it's this season they start together and Quinn proposes, Deborah says no. Deborah is offered the lieutenant position. I didn't mention LaGuardia. I think LaGuardia. This is where Deborah gets her lieutenant position. LaGuardia gets promoted to captain. Basically, kind of sets up Matthews. I mentioned him very little. He is basically been on the force a long time with Deborah and Dexter's dad, and kind of he's a big he's up there. He's been on the force a long time. Whatever. A thing happens with him. He gets kind of kicked off the force, forced to retire, I believe was the term they use in the show. LaGuardia gets the captain position and Deborah gets the lieutenant position, and this is the start of her being lieutenant. I believe this season starts early on. That's when Quinn and Deborah break up. Quinn thinks that's why she rejected the proposal. And yeah, this is also where Quinn gets like drunk a lot and starts kind of like fucking up a little bit. He like hits on Jamie, Angel's sister, and like says some shit that it's way out of line, and gets punched in the face by Angel, and it's pretty justified. And he's on the floor and Deborah's like, I think you need to go. And then he says something. He's just so sad, in such a sad state in this season. And he says something, did you ever really love me? Or whatever. And I'm like, dude, it's just so rough for Quinn this season. But yeah. I don't think anything is happening with Masuka. Oh, I take it back. Masuka gets an intern. I forget his name. He gets a few interns. He gets like first he gets this one guy. He pukes at a crime scene. I think fires him because of that, because he can't handle it. He gets this girl who's pretty hot. She steals like the prosthetic hand from the ice truck killer. He finds out about it. He fires her. And then he gets the new guy. I forget his name. And he's like a game developer, and he wants the internship for like research on a game he's working on. yada yada yada. He starts dating Jamie, and he's kind of like, I think he's closeted gay. I'm not gonna lie, because why is he into Dexter as much as he is? Like, he really wanted Dexter's approval for his game, and Dexter does not give it to him. And then all of a sudden, he decides he's not gonna work on the game anymore, and he's gonna ruin Dexter's life because he talks shit about his game, and it's so fucking stupid. But yeah, that guy starts dating Jamie, way out of his league, and I try not to go off looks and all this and that, but I do not believe for a second that like Jamie would give this type of dude the time of day. You know what I mean? But it is what it is, and it's like it's just I think it's one of those moments where like I don't think Deborah would be with Lundy, you know, and yeah. So it's kind of like a little mix, you know. You know, these characters are all close. They mix up a little bit. Angel and I think Lagorta are divorced at this point. Trying to think what else happens. Other than the cliffhanger, like I said, I don't know if because maybe season 5 wasn't received as well, that they're like, okay, we gotta do a cliffhanger, we gotta give them something. And the cliffhanger with this season is, you know, Deborah walking in on Dexter killing the Doomsday Killer, and finding, well, you know, she finds out for sure like everything in the next season, season 7, but that's the cliffhanger, is her walking in on Dexter killing him. And really, that's season 6. It's again and again, I'm gonna say this, I think I like every season. I'm not gonna lie, I think I like every season. I just like some significantly more than others. I think I walk away with, you know, each something from each season that I like. I think one of the issues, and this can go all up and down each season, is like, I don't know if it's just the time we're living in now, that I'm just kind of used to cameras being like a thing, like in a bunch of buildings and or in every building. But with the Trinity Killer, and I can probably name a bunch of different other situations, like when would they not have cameras here? Like, so with the Trinity Killer, I know I'm jumping back a couple seasons, but the Trinity Killer where he bludgeons that dude in that like building, are you telling me they did not, like, the dude literally had cameras? And I don't think Dexter deleted the files, unless he did. I don't remember, maybe he did, but like I don't remember if he deleted the ones of the Trinity Killer or if he deleted just the ones, maybe the ones of him, but they didn't have any like outside at all. And that's my other thing, is there is no camera, there are no cameras on those buildings with the Doomsday Killer, where he kidnaps, I know I didn't even touch this, but Doomsday Killer kidnaps Harrison and takes him to like the top of a building or whatever. Like, they have no cameras on where that, in that of that building where the cop died. Like, they find the building where, you know, the dude was, Doomsday Killer was, and Dexter saves his son, you know, but they have no footage of the Doomsday Killer or Dexter. And yeah, it's just like one of the things you know, it's like, come on, they would have seen that shit. But, you know, you give it the, I want to say suspend belief is the term, but I'm not sure if I'm using it right, because I mean, it makes sense, but I'm not sure that is the phrase that is said in these situations. But that's season 6 in a nutshell. Season 7 starts, like I said, season 6. They went with the cliffhangers on 6 and 7, and 6, 7. Sorry. Yeah, she finds out, or she walks in on Dexter. Deborah finds out like basically everything. Does not like, you know, show Dexter telling her literally everything, but you kind of just assume she figures everything out. You know, like, he's the Bay Harbor Butcher. I don't know if there's a part where she mentions Dokes and it's like, hey, did you fucking kill Dokes? And I don't know if Dexter mentions Lila. I don't know if he ever tells her that. They mention Rita and like the Trinity Killer kind of thing a little bit. Um, they mention Lumen. They don't talk about Miguel. I know. I'm pretty sure. She finds out. I think she finds out before that he's a serial killer. That Brian Moser was his brother. Um, and I think Dexter is concerned that she's gonna connect the dots and think that he's a killer too, but she doesn't. But now she knows. Um, she finds out with the Doomsday Killer. So I mean, she basically figures she just knows at this point, and she tries to help him, and eventually just lets him do what he does, sort of. Um, this season introduces Hannah, and I don't know how you all feel about Hannah, but I kind of don't like her. Um, I like the actress, but the character I could care less about her, and I almost wish she would have stayed gone at the end of the season when she leaves. I think she's fine fitting in with this season, but season 8 I think is when I'm like over it and don't like that she came back. Season 7, like I said, the main thing. Oh, okay. Here we go. This is kind of like the start, I guess. The start of the season, Deborah walks in on Dexter, right? He drops the blood slide. It gets like caught in like this vent. Somehow no one fucking sees it, but you know who does? LaGuerta sees it. So she starts thinking the Bay Harbor Butcher is still, you know, alive and active in killing, and starts, you know, suspecting Dexter because she has the list of suspects that Lundy had, and she starts eliminating them, and the only one that stays really is Dexter. And she knows how Dokes felt about him, and then she starts suspecting him. And I feel like she should have been suspecting him like way the fuck before this season, but whatever, it becomes a thing now. And it's Dokes 2.0 with LaGuerta. And yeah, I'll put a pin in that there with her. That's what happens with her. Cohen gets okay. So, God, there is so much. They introduced a new character into season 6. I forgot his name. Black dude. I think Anderson. He becomes like, whose position does he take? Oh, he takes Deborah's position because she becomes lieutenant. So he takes her position, and he's involved in season 6, and he's a cool character, and I like him. And I completely forgot about him. And I forgot about him because he dies in the beginning of season 7, literally the first episode. He gets shot. He finds he stops to help this guy who's pulled over, and he's like changing a tire or something, and he pops the trunk, and he finds a dead body in there of a stripper, and the dude shoots him and takes Anderson's car, and Anderson dies. But that involves basically just kind of like the quote unquote main thing, sort of. It's kind of like a side thing. Like, I think I still consider Deborah to be the main part of this. Her and Dexter trying, her, them just trying to figure out how to exist now. But because of that, the dude is like from Ukraine, and the stripper, like, they're both connected to the strip club, and it's run by like a Ukrainian mafia. And basically Dexter kills the guy who shot Anderson, and that guy turns out to be like had a gay lover in Ukraine who comes and to Miami, and just it just becomes a whole fucking thing. And again, I actually like that character a lot, and him and Dexter like have a few conversations together that I really like a lot. And He ends up dying, and God, there's so much with season 7. I feel like now that I'm remembering, but yeah, it just became, the show just has a whole lot, because I didn't even mention that LaGuerta and Matthews start investigating the Bay Harbor Butcher, and Matthews questions Dexter, and Matthews kind of buys what Dexter says, and then Dexter plants evidence, like a boat and like some material for them to find, like plastic and like I think other weapons with Dokes' DNA on it or something, and that's when like Matthews kind of drops out, but LaGuerta doesn't buy it. But yeah, season 7, man, it just has a lot going on. Now that I'm thinking about it, Hannah, we got the shit with LaGuerta, we got the shit with Deborah, and it's just a bunch of characters involved. I do like, I know I said I didn't like Hannah. That's not entirely true though. I think I said this earlier too. My problem is that she came back for season 8. But I like that Dexter is actually like interested in like another human being, and helps her become more human, I guess. But my problem with that even is like, what was Rita even for? And I feel like Rita shouldn't have died, and Rita could have stayed and kind of been that one. But I don't know. Like the mother of your child didn't make you feel the way Hannah did, like ever. Like I feel like when he's with Hannah, it's almost like you should have been through this. I thought you went through some of this. Excuse me, through some of this already with Rita. Like he talks about like a feel to need to be with her, like being stronger than his need to kill. And then wasn't that like the thing at the end of season 4 with Rita? And it's like surprising to him, but I'm like, I don't know, it's just like you went through this already. But I feel like Hannah's character makes me feel like they shouldn't have killed Rita. Like it was just a moment, I feel like, to have. And I don't know how different the show is from the books, because I forgot that these were novels. But yeah, I don't know. Seeing Hannah just makes me wish they did not kill Rita, but it is what it is. And I think she's okay, like I said, but my biggest problem is in season 8. She comes back, and in season 8, I'm gonna jump ship from season 7 to 8. I've been talking long enough, and it's already been 25 minutes, and I'm not trying to get this shit to 2 hours. But the end of season 7, Dexter is gonna kill LaGuerta because she won't leave him alone, basically. And Deborah finds out, and she comes, and it's like trying to get him not to. And she ends up shooting LaGuerta instead, and that's how season 7 ends. And then it goes into season 8, and now Deborah's just a mess because she can't deal with the fact that she killed LaGuerta. She's like doing drugs, getting drunk all the time. Dexter's trying to help her. At season 7, Deborah was still lieutenant. She quits the force, joins a private investigating company. Angel in season 7 had a restaurant and was going to retire. When Deborah leaves, he becomes lieutenant. And okay, right off the bat, my biggest problem with season 8, they have so many characters that Angel, Masuka, Quinn, and I'm gonna say Matthews too. They all like take such a backseat for Vogel and Hannah, and I'm okay with Vogel a little bit. You know, you find out Vogel is kind of like Dexter's spiritual mother in a sense. She like helped Harry invent the code for him, and is just been aware of him the whole entire fucking time, and needs his help because she's being threatened by the killer they call the brain surgeon, who leaves pieces of brain of his victims to Vogel. And turns out, I'm just going to go in on Vogel, I guess. Turns out that the brain surgeon is Vogel's son that she thought was dead. And once she finds out, she doesn't want Dexter to kill him. And turns out she's like, starts to second guess it. And then the brain surgeon finds out, and the brain surgeon kills Vogel in front of Dexter. And that, man, that was a lot of ands, but it is what it is. But God, all these characters that they introduce in this season. I said Deborah joins a PI company, and the dude's name is Elway. And instead of stuff with Angel, we have a little bit with Angel, I guess. Not really. I think it's more Masuka. God, dude, this season, it has so many characters. I mean, they all kind of do, but I think that's the problem, is they introduce characters to just kind of like kill, and everyone else just takes such a backseat. Like, and I think that's my problem. And then it wouldn't have been as bad if Hannah did just not come back, dude. Like, Hannah did not need to come back. Like, Dexter could have just ran with, like, not even ran, he could have just left in general with Harrison. Like, literally anywhere else, Deb could have went back to the Force. And I don't know, but it is what it is. And Hannah came back and wanted his help to kill, like, her husband. She gets married. God, so much shit happens. But I don't even know how to explain it, because season 8, I think, is such a weird season. And I know, like, a lot of people just say it's bad, and I don't think it's bad, because I kind of like it. But it's just I feel like it's such an odd season to end on. Like, I mean, it makes sense. I'm using quotation marks. You can't see me do the gesture, but it makes sense in that, you know, Deborah dies. You know, Dexter's gonna flee the country with Hannah because he wants to have a life with Hannah or whatever. But this season gives me the same kind of vibe of Halloween Ends that came out, and like, when did that fucking movie come out? I'm gonna look it up. But it gives me such a weird vibe, like that movie did, 2022. And I don't know, if you haven't seen that movie, it's just such a weird movie for a series to end on. It's like a movie series. And this season gives me that same kind of vibe. Like, okay, Hannah comes back and is married, wants you to kill her husband. She kills him, you help her clean it up, you can't let her go again. And even though you turned her in because she, you know, basically poisoned Deborah, and I don't know, it's just like all is forgiven and yada yada yada. And this time you're gonna go with her, and yeah. And I mentioned Elway, and then he gets another character involved, the U.S. Marshal, and I don't even know his name, but it's just they were juggling too many balls, and they didn't do a great job of juggling. With that being said, man, I'm lying to you if I'm said I'm still not, like, even on the rewatch, I was still invested in like every single episode, and I wanted to know what was going to happen next, and you know, I wanted to finish the series, and I think the ending is fine. um Tosi said something, and I think he's right. It should have just ended. It should have just ended with him driving into the hurricane and credits. That's it. You can choose to believe if he lives or dies, but it just ends him driving his boat into the hurricane. Just end. No need to show Hannah seeing the news in Argentina, or no need to show Angel finding out. No need to show Hannah with Harrison finding out, and then just like her holding back tears and like, oh, you want to get ice cream, Harrison? After to like, you know, and then no need for showing Dexter in the. If you're gonna do the fucking Dexter scene of him being alive, and I don't know if it how people knew it was Oregon. I think people said it was Oregon. But I don't know how you know that. Maybe it's somewhere. Maybe there's an Oregon plate and I missed it and I was not paying attention. But you could have did that scene after the end credits, like as like a little, oh, he's alive, you know. But I don't know, man. It's Dexter to me is such a unique series. I don't watch a lot of shows, I'm gonna be honest, but I watch a lot of movies. So the only reason I'm bringing that up is because I feel like people are gonna be like, oh, that's why you like, you know, all the seasons, because you don't know any shit about anything. You know what I mean? But I think, I mean, it's there. I don't know. Is there anything else quite like this? I can't think of one where, like the closest immediate thought that pops in my head, and I wouldn't even put it in the same ballpark, is Criminal Minds. But you know, that would be like if Dexter wasn't a serial killer and he was just like a detective, you know, full blown, like helping that group of people out or whatever. But you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, even when Dexter is not great, I still wanted to watch like the next episode. I wanted to see how the season ended. I wanted to see what was next, you know? And that's gotta count for something in my eyes. And I still enjoyed the show. I still enjoyed the ride. And I didn't like Deborah dying, but you know, I liked the little flashback memory with him and her, like, you know, after Harrison was born and they're talking. And I don't know. I liked the show. I like the there's more. I'm trying to think how to word this. There's more about the show I like than I don't like. Is the show perfect? No. But I would be lying if I said I didn't get enjoyment throughout the whole series. And I just like some seasons more than other. And I think for me, like most people, I think most people say the enjoyment dips after season 4, or like some people just say the show flat out sucks. But I don't know. I think people are so quick to throw the horrible and trash and terrible and bad tag that on something that is not. And I think shows suffer for that because of you know, they're so long and they can go for so long, so people want to feel like their time is well invested, and they want like such a like perfect, like, you know, perfect, you know, just whipped cream on top, the cherry. Like, they want it to be perfect top to bottom. And it's just such a hard thing to do. And they didn't do it with the show. And that's just the truth. However, I still think the show is like, I would give it a 7.5. I give those first couple seasons probably like an 8. And the last couple probably like low 7s to high 6s or something. And I think that averages out in my mind. Like, yeah, like I give this series a 7.5. And that's where I'm at. And I think I'm going to end it there because I've been rambling, and this is probably the most like random bullshit, like just off the wall like review talk about. I don't know, I didn't like the word review, but I'm gonna call it a review anyway. This is more just like, I just wanted to talk about what jumped at me and my thoughts like after watching the series again after like 10 plus years. But yeah, if you made it this far, thank you for listening to me ramble. Yeah,